He is the founder and director of Reprieve. You'll know about him from the work he has done on death row cases, particularly in the southern states of America, but more recently, much more visibly, and arguably much more cutting to the heart of a whole international situation, the work he did on behalf of detainees in the American base at Guantanamo. In his hometown, or adopted hometown of Bridport in Dorset, they have done experiments or democratic activities which are of a piece with a lot of what we've talked about today. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you Clive Stafford-Smith.
Is it on? It is on. Look, I am monumentally unqualified to be talking in front of you lot, but these guys know much more about this than I do. But I did learn one thing just a few minutes ago, which is if you really want to make John cry, you mispronounce Froome. I think that was the closest anyone got to it. I saw him coming very close to weep, and I'm going to say Froome several times to try and get a free beer. I wanted to talk just briefly, starting at the very macrocosmic and then coming back to the center of the universe, which is Bridport. And I hope you're not going to disagree with me. I shall come and have to harass you and torture you or whatever it was in group 15. One of the problems we've had, it seems to me, for the last many years is that our politicians have forgotten how to dream. And if you don't have a dream, it's very hard to figure out how to put your dream into action. And it seems to me, I have a mother who's a very, very dear woman who lives up in near Newmarket, and she has voted Tory since 1642. And I love her dearly. I tried to get her to stop reading the Telegraph one year, and when she was drunk, I got her to agree to swap papers for a month. I get back to Bridport, and she emails me and says, "But dear, I have coupons." And so I never got her to do that. But my mother's dream is the same as my dream. My mother's idea of utopia is the same as my idea of utopia. And the problem with most of the decision-making that's made in politics, it seems to me, is if you don't have a dream, you don't know what steps you have to take to get closer to it. And if you do have a dream, and if every single step you ever take takes you one step closer to the dream, then you know where you're going and you're going to get there. And our politicians don't do that. If you ask our central politicians, I don't mean our brilliant politicians, I mean our central politicians, tend not to remember what that dream is. And, you know, just to give you one example from my line of work, obviously in our ideal society, we won't have prisons, obviously. We're not going to get there for a long time. But you don't get closer to having your ideal society by banging up more people in prison. It just doesn't work that way. You don't get closer to a society of equality by having less equality. So, and compromise is not about going in the opposite direction to what you believe in. Compromise is about not quite going as fast as you'd like to and not quite establishing utopia this month. Oh God, I thought I was about to be harassed and whatever. Someone tell me how to get him to cry, please. Look, the other aspect of politics that we've been lacking for a long time is passion. And it's a passion to do what really motivates you. And when people are passionate, it's not only so easy to do stuff, it's so much fun. They always ask me as a do-gooder, isn't it terribly, terribly hard work? Of course not. I mean, the idea of working for some corporate law firm, I'd throw myself off the top of the building tomorrow if I had to do that. But when you get up every morning and you get to do something that's really fun and that you're passionate about, it's great. And my problem is I think there should be 72 hours in the day. You know, the other thing about passion and persuading people is we tend to take ourselves far too seriously. My world is the death penalty. It's quite a serious little world out there, but if you take it too seriously, it's just not terribly persuasive. It is desperately important for us on the incredibly enlightened, sensible, civilized side of the world that all of you people are. It's desperately important for us not to take the world too seriously because sanctimony is incredibly unpersuasive. And on that front, I want to tell you first about a couple of things we've done in Bridport that I'm absolutely not personally responsible for, except for a few really, really bad songs, because I think they operated quite effectively and they were great fun. One is on a negative, on stopping the West Dorset District Council Tory lunatics that they are from ruining our town. And they held this dreadful meeting where they wanted to impose on us I'm about to impose on you a spilt thing. They wanted to impose on us a planning system where they were going to ruin a whole part of Bridport. And we asked them to have the meeting on that in Bridport, because we have great facility, the Electric Palace, we'll have a lot of fun, all the people who care about it will be there. So their democracy officer said, no, you got to come to Dorchester, and by the way, we can only let 10 of you in. So we went there, and we had a lot of fun creating chaos in their meeting, and we got them so defensive that they forgot to vote on the thing that they were meant to vote on. And then they issued a first set of their minutes, which said the truth, that they hadn't voted on the crucial issue. And then they issued a false set of minutes that had changed, and then we threatened to sue them. And then we told them, why don't we restage it in Bridport? Rather than sue you and cost you, a couple of £100,000 defending something you're going to lose, why don't you restage it in Bridport and we'll do it all fairly? And they said no. So we said, okay, we will. And so we decided that we were going to restage the whole meeting in Bridport, and I had a friend of mine who will remain nameless write up his idea of what it should look like, which was what really happened, which was deathly dull. And I said, do you mind if I edit this a bit? And he said, yes, I do mind. This is really accurate. And I thought, oh, Christ, this is going to be dreadfully tedious. So instead of making it shorter, we decided to make it much, much longer. And we turned it into West Dorset District Council, the Opera. And what we did was we took a number of songs, well-known songs, including Can't Get No Council Action, loosely based on a Rolling Stones song. And another one, we had Gillian Summers, who was one of our rather bad and unresponsive councillors. So I did the lead song of We Can Still Recall Gillian Summers. A good old ABBA song, because some people came back to ABBA, I never left. And we put this opera on, and it was dreadful. It was fantastically bad. Although I tweeted it, and a chap came down from London who was an opera director, and he directed it, but it was still dreadful. But it was tremendous fun, and we humiliated the West Dorset District Council, and they ended up losing their little battle to destroy our part of Bridport that time, and the battle continues. But it's just so much fun when you do these things. We were so entertaining rubbishing the West Dorset District Council. And the current thing we're doing is not necessarily so entertaining, but it's fun, where we're doing we've got enough signatures now to force them to hold a referendum for an enormous amount of money to change their entire system in West Dorset, which they hate. And we have that power. And what people forget is we have a lot more power than they do. I once thought about going into politics and trying to get elected. Oh, the hell with that. Politicians are generally, the big-time politicians, not the cool politicians, are afraid of us. And we have way more power than they do, as long as we don't take ourselves too seriously. And I was just listening to you guys a minute ago, and a few thoughts came to me about what we can do to make their lives miserable. Refugees, I love this refugee thing. You can do several things. You can have petitions. We've got a petition right now that I was promoting in Bridport, but that's dull, frankly. And we need to think about all the different passions you have, and the ways that there's no one in this room who couldn't do something really significant for the issue that you're passionate about. Give me a kick when I'm going on too long. I forgot when I started. What do you reckon? 3 or 4. Oh, gee, gosh. Tell a lawyer that you got 3 or 4 minutes, and that's a half an hour. One thing I'm going to do with the refugee thing, which we're plotting already, is the Afghans play cricket on the Calais, the Calais port area. So we're going to take a cricket team out there to play cricket against the Afghans to have a good time. Because after all, as you know, Bridport's the center of the universe, and cricket is the only important sport in the universe. So what was the other thing someone said? Oh, yeah, when you talk about justice and finance, I love globalization. I hate every corporation on the planet, but I love globalization because it gives us the opportunity to change the world. One thing that my charity is doing is there are 34 states in America today that execute people, right? And only 7 states today have the drugs that they can use to execute people. And the reason for that is, and I speak as half American, and I apologize for both George Bush and for Tony Blair, that when the Americans were executing people with drugs, lethal injection, and we found out that they were no longer manufacturing it in the United States because of all this globalization stuff. They were making it in Germany, and they were then sending it via a little pharmaceutical company called Dream Pharma that was in Acton in London. And that was where America was getting all of its drugs from. And so we got that closed within about 20 minutes. And then as we went around all the pharmaceutical companies, what you do is you go to their website, you discover that they're boasting about their drugs are fantastic for saving lives and stuff, and then you issue a press release in their hometown about how, oh, you're from Germany, you did nasty things with drugs back in the war, because you can never get past the third minute without talking about Nuremberg or the Holocaust. And then you say, you people are making the drugs that killed that innocent guy over in America. And there was this one lovely corporation in Denmark who we had their stock price fall 50% in a week. And they end up calling saying, look, we only want to be in Pharmaceutical Monthly. And, you know, ultimately what happens here is that the pharmaceutical companies really don't want to take part in some of those things. And it's actually really easy to educate them as to how they can do the right thing. And the same issue is true worldwide. There's going to be here in Frome, there's going to be all sorts of, have I got him weeping yet? There's going to be all sorts of corporations who have links to wicked things, and all you have to do is Google them and find out, and then have a lot of fun going after them. Because you can make a massive difference. You can make a massive difference without ever taking over a council and without ever doing anything other than just pursuing something that you're really passionate about. I am so impressed that you lot took out a day. It was sunny out there. I said to Frances, why the hell aren't we doing this outside? And she promised me we could have the drinks outside. But it is so impressive that there's so many people here who are so passionate about all of this. And I look forward to exploiting you all through my charity at Reprieve. We don't have volunteers, as some of you who have come up to me today who have volunteered for us. We don't call you volunteers, we call you exploitees, because we pay you nothing and we make you work terribly hard, and all you get out of it is that you don't go to a mythical place called hell. Anyway, thank you very much, and keep up the great work.